Hey there, it is Jer SD here. I am your coach of the Seattle Pidgeots, and we are here to go over the replay of my Week 8 game versus Dolphin Wizard. He is the coach of the Raleigh Rampardos, I believe. He had access, similar to me, had access to Sand with Hippowdon and Excadrill. He also has Rotom-Mow, Gardevoir, Mantine, Ninetales, so he gets Sun as well, and then a Selgor, Kingler, Sliggoo, Sneasel, and Sirfetch'd. Funny thing, on the dock, while I was prepping for this game, the transaction he had made last week, which was trading in a Toxicroak for a Sirfetch'd, was not on the dock. So keep that in mind while you watch this replay, is that I had no idea that Sirfetch'd was available to him. And that's not a mon that really can be, overlooked. That's a mon you need to prep for. It is insanely powerful. Banded, or with its signature item, the Leak, it gets priority in first impression. It gets knockoff, it gets close combat, it gets all the coverages, and it's insanely powerful. So yeah. So as you can see, my team does not have a switch in to offensive Sirfetch'd, which is bad. But we will go over my team. So first up is Thwacked the Thwacky, holding the Eviolite with Grassy Surge, Woodhammer, U-Turn, Leech Seed, Taunt, and mostly physically defensive. This is my check to Excadrill, at least partly. It's kind of my answer to Excadrill, I guess. It can OHKO offensive variants with Woodhammer in the terrain, and basically I can just annoy it, regain my health with Leech Seed and the terrain, and then taunt stuff like Hippowdon and Mantine that might want to kind of either defog or set up rocks on me. Not in that order, but also, shout out to this lit freaking music by Glitch X City, bro. This is Mount Pyre remix. It is heat, dude. Let's turn it up a little bit. That's heat. Anyway, next up we had Lumberry, Earthquake, Stone Edge, Toxic, Rest, specially defensive Gigalith. This is here for Ninetales. It is here for the Gardevoir, and his other special threats like a Selgor and kind of Rotom-Mow, not really, but it can take Volt Switches and stuff like that. You got the Lumberry on there with the Rest, so if I need to, I can get up back to full HP if I were to get down. And Earthquake Stone Edge basically hits everything on his team pretty much for super effective damage, except the Rotom and the Gardevoir and the Sirfetch'd. I thought it was going to be Toxicroak, so it would have been, I guess, neutral on the Sirfetch'd and the Toxicroak, but Earthquake hit Toxicroak pretty hard, but Sirfetch'd straight out resists Earthquake, so whatever. Obviously does not take close combats from Sirfetch'd. But yeah, so next up we have Salazzle, which the only set that seemed to work for me is Toxic Stall. So I brought it again, this time Sub-Disable instead of Sub-Protect with Flamethrower. Outspeeds his fastest mon, which was the... outsped Gardevoir, yeah. I don't know why, but in prep, I thought his fastest mon was the Excadrill for some reason, but it's actually Ninetales. Ninetales is base 100, other than a Selgor, obviously. A Selgor is way faster. But I didn't think he'd bring a Selgor, and I didn't think he'd bring Sneasel, so I was kind of disregarding those. And so Excadrill was the mon that I was speed creeping for, obviously 303, instead of 329, which I should have been for the Ninetales, but whatever. Yeah, so I kind of zoned out. Next up, Sandforce, Choice Banded, Alolan Dugtrio. just there to hit things very hard. High horsepower, Iron Head, Stone Edge, and Memento. 252 Adamant, Choice Banded, Sand Force. Basically 2-hit KO'd everything on his team with certain moves. Yeah. Except like the Sligoo, but I didn't think the Sligoo would come. Yeah. Yeah, even, I think, High Horsepower in the sand, 2-hit KO'd non-physically defensive Hippowdon, which was crazy. Next up we had Scarfed, Sandrush, Dracozolt. This was my answer to Sandrush Excadrill, or at least my kind of revenge on that, because Choice Scarf, Excadrill, and Sand outsped everything on my team, even with Sandrush, Dracozolt. So yeah, so pretty good coverage here for his team. Bolt Beak hits everything except the Excadrill, and then Outrage hits everything except the Gardevoir, and then Earthquake and Fire Fang are there as well. And then we had a physically defensive Bill with Toxic Recover and Protect. Again for Excadrill and Hippowdon. So let's go to the game here. So as you can see, he brought the Ninetales. He did not bring the Sand. He brought the Rotom, the Sirfetch'd, the Excadrill, the Gardevoir, and the Mantine. So he leads with the Rotom-Mow. I lead with the Salazzle because I just wanted to get Toxics off if possible, and I knew if he led Sirfetch'd, I had no switch into it at that point. So you can see in chat that I kind of, yeah, didn't expect the Sirfetch'd, obviously, and was pretty upset about that, but there'll be more things to be upset in this game, don't worry. So I go for a Toxic. He reveals that he's not Scarfed, and goes for Volt Switch. Here he goes Mantine, and I said, screw it, and went right into the Dracozolt. If he had Scald, that was kind of a bad play, but I figured, I figured that he would have something stronger to be able to take, to get more hits off on my Mons. So he does go for the Surf, and it does nothing, and I'm able to get a free Outrage here. I think he never would have swapped in Gardevoir, but I couldn't Bolt Beak just in case Excadrill would come in. And I get the 2-turn Outrage, which is super good for me, because if I got 3-turn, then Dracozolt would actually be dead right there. So I go into the Gigalith as he goes for a sub. He goes for a Moonblast here, and I go for an Earthquake, breaking the sub. Crit didn't matter. And then here I predict the switch to Mantine, and I go right for Stone Edge, and that's going to take out Mantine pretty easily there. So 2 kills right off the bat, looking good. Here's where it turns bad. Obviously Sirfetch'd is in, and I have no switch in. My only resist to it is this thing, and it still takes 52. That's max HP, or not quite. Yeah, I think it is max HP Salazzle. Yeah, max HP Salazzle, and it takes over half from a close combat. Turns out he's not actually banded, but he can't stay in here because a Flamethrower would take him out at -1. So that was good for me. So he forces in the Ninetales. I go right into the Gigalith, which is meant for this thing. He goes for Psyshock. Doesn't do much. And then he goes right back into Sirfetch'd. I miss a Toxic, which is huge. If I got the Toxic off, I won later in the game, and you'll see other things happen that definitely helped. I could not switch in Salazzle because I figured Salazzle would be important to revenge Sirfetch'd at all times. So I didn't. I just let Gigalith go down. I probably should have sacked something that was less useful, like the Dugtrio or the Quagsire. But that's hindsight, I guess. He switches in the Gardevoir this time. It gets 2-hit KO'd by the Flamethrower as well, and it turns out he's pretty slow, and he's not Scarfed, which we knew already, but Salazzle outspeeds him. Or the Gardevoir, her, I guess, whatever. And then here on the Ninetales, I'm just gonna let it take me out because I didn't want to switch in anything to this because I lost my Sand. But he pulls the Flame Charge, out of his butt. So he's able to outspeed me on the next turn and take me out with Psyshock. So that sucked. I thought I would be able to either get big damage off and he would overpredict, maybe go for a fire type attack instead of Psyshock. And I'd be able to take him out, but there's a flame charge there. That means he's able to outspeed my Dracozolt, but I do take him out with Earthquake after taking big damage from the Flamethrower or Fire Blast. I do go for Earthquake onto the Excadrill as well, as he goes for the Rapid Spin. Not sure why, I guess just to get speed. I go into Thwackey here, and this is where it all goes downhill. So Thwackey did 70% minimum to Excadrill, who's at 67 right there with Woodhammer. It was like 70 to 60 with HP, or 70 to 86, I think the calc was, to an Excadrill with HP investment, which I could tell he was. And so I get flinched there. I'm like, okay, still a roll to take him out here, and if I don't get the roll, then I can go into Quagsire and easily take him out, and then live something from the Surfetched and go for the Scald to take him out. So that was my plan, even if Thwackey were to go down here. But you can see I got flinched again. So it's been a roll. I'm at 30. He's done 31, 28, and 29. So it's definitely a roll to take me out here. I live on 1% and I flinch for a third time. So he gets back up all the way to 85% and he's able to take me out. And at this point, I'm not sure if he has Earthquake or not. Obviously, Grassy Terrain makes Earthquake pretty much ineffective while it halves the damage or whatever. So I decide to sack the Dracozolt because I know that the Grassy Terrain is going to expire this turn, so I can get back in Thwackey, set up the Grassy Terrain, hopefully for Quagsire, and be able to take Earthquakes well, because Iron Head does nothing to Quagsire. So I do that. Thwackey gets killed there on the next turn, and I'm able to go now into Quagsire and throw off some Scalds. He ends up to have the high horsepower. Scald's doing 50%, so with the Grassy Terrain it doesn't kill on the second one. I don't get the burn either of the 2 turns, and then he's able to bring me down pretty low with high horsepower. I click Protect just to get some Grassy Terrain recovery on myself, so I can possibly live 2. And here I go for the Scald to take him out, not wanting him to be able to set up or anything, even though I am unaware. And here is where the game ends. Obviously, my thought process is he's obviously going to be a bulky kind of set on Surfetched, as he doesn't really have the ability to outspeed anything except Glycopod with speed investment. So I figured he'd be almost max HP, which a banded high horsepower from Dugtrio would be able to take out either at -1, or with a Scald chip, which would do about 25%. But he crits me with First Impression. So turns out he was actually Leak. So it was like a 1 in 4 chance, I think, of getting a crit. Instead of 1 in 7, I think, is the normal one. I don't know. But yeah, so he crits me, does 38. It was doing 30 maximum from First Impression. And that allows him to live the high horsepower and take me out with close combat and get the 1-0 victory. We drop to 3 and 5 on the season. So yeah, 3 and 5 -4. We've had 2 very close games, 2 1-0 losses, a 2-0 loss. The win last week was good, but this pretty much sinks our playoff hopes here in the woods. Not a great time, that game, for sure. Yeah, not happy about it. So you can see we're in 10th right now. -4 is not terrible. Next week we play the Brock's Obstagoons, who have a 27 kill Dragapult, so that's fun. Yeah. Excuse me. So yeah, as you can see, I believe it is the top 8 that make it into playoffs. And if we can pull out the last 3 wins in the last 3 weeks, we might have a chance. But they're very tough opponents here. Bronx Obstagoons have a positive record, I think. And they have that Dragapult, of course. Yeah, they're 5-3. Then we play the Alaska Wormholes, I think. Yeah. So that's not as well. I guess he's 1-6, but he's still a good player. And he's got the Dragovish, so that's fun. And then our last opponent is the Philadelphia Agrons, which are somewhere. This one? No, that's Flygons. This one. Yeah, Ronin, who's hasn't played all of his games yet, but he's 0-4, so. And he also has Sand. So I don't know about that for sure. So yeah. Anyway, that'll be it for me. Week 9 will be up next week. Yeah, GG's to my opponent, Dolphin Wizard. Definitely close game. Definitely hacks in his favor. But honestly, like I said last week with the IBL game, hacks is hacks, and I won't let it discredit wins for anybody, including myself. So he picked up the win there. Just unfortunate way it went down. Yeah, so thank you for watching. Like and sub, and I'll see you guys next week with our game against the Bronx Obstagoons. Yeah, see ya. Bye-bye.